All right, let's dive in. Today, we're talking about the biggest story you could possibly imagine, the story of life itself. We're going to explore the science of biology from a tiny, unseen microbe all the way up to a giant whale to try and understand the fundamental rules that govern our own existence.
And really, it all kicks off with one simple but profound question. What's the actual difference between a rock and a rose, a computer and a cat? This question is our launchpad. And from here, we're going to explore the blueprint, the history, and the incredibly complex web of life on Earth.
You know, the name itself kind of gives us the whole mission. Bios is Greek for life, and logia means the study of. So biology is just that. It's our quest to understand what life is, how it works, where it all came from, and maybe even where it's all going. Okay, so to understand this huge, grand story, we've got to start small. I mean, unbelievably small. We're going down to the microscopic level to look at the fundamental building blocks in the instruction manual that makes everything you see possible. So before we can even really talk about biology, we have to talk chemistry. And here's a fact that just blows my mind. About 96% of all living matter, you, me, the trees outside, everything, is made of just 4 elements: oxygen, carbon, hydrogen, and nitrogen. That's it. All of life's incredible, mind-bending complexity is built from these remarkably simple ingredients. And those chemical elements, well, they get organized into these amazing little factories called cells. This cell theory is one of the absolute pillars of biology. It basically says that the cell is the fundamental unit of life, that all living things are made of them, and, this is crucial, that all new cells have to come from pre-existing cells. There's no spontaneous generation, just an unbroken chain of life stretching back billions of years. So how does a cell know what to do, what to build? Well, that's where the central dogma comes in. Think of your DNA as the master blueprint, locked away for safekeeping. Through a process called transcription, a temporary copy, that's RNA, is made. That RNA copy then goes out to the cell's workshop, where it's read in a process called translation to build proteins. And proteins are the workers that do pretty much everything. So blueprint to copy to worker. That's the flow of information that builds all life. Pretty cool, right? Okay, so we've got the microscopic blueprint. But how in the world did that create everything we see today? To answer that, we have to zoom out, way out, to see the epic 4 billion-year saga that blueprint produced. This is the story of evolution. The scale of this story is just staggering. I mean, for the first few billion years, life was just simple, single-celled organisms. Then, multicellular life shows up. But the real fireworks didn't kick off until the Cambrian explosion, about 525 million years ago. That's when the ancestors of most modern animals just burst onto the scene. Dinosaurs, they're actually a pretty recent chapter. And the main takeaway here is that all of recorded human history is just a microscopic sliver at the very, very end of this timeline. So what's the engine driving all this incredible change? Charles Darwin gave us the primary mechanism, and it's this incredibly elegant idea: natural selection. See, in any population, there's variation. Some of those variations just happen to give an individual an edge for survival and reproduction in their specific environment. Over generations, those helpful traits naturally become more common. It's not random chance, it's the environment itself constantly selecting for what works best. And when natural selection acts on different populations over vast stretches of time, you get speciation. This is literally how the tree of life grows new branches. A single group might get split by, say, a new mountain range. Each group then adapts to its own environment, and over millions of years, they become so different they can no longer interbreed. And just like that, one species has become 2. So that brings us from the long story of the past to the complex reality of the present, because all those millions of branches on the tree of life, they aren't living in isolation. No way. They're all woven together into this vast, intricate, and interconnected web, and this is the realm of ecology. Now, biologists classify all this diversity into 3 main domains. First, you've got the archaea. A lot of these are extremophiles, the tough guys living in boiling hot springs or super salty lakes. Next up is the massive domain of bacteria. Both of those are prokaryotes, which just means their cells don't have a nucleus. And finally, there's our domain, eukarya. Every plant, every fungus, and every animal, including us, is a eukaryote, and our cells do have a nucleus. So just how much diversity are we really talking about? Well, as of today, scientists have officially described and given names to over 1.5 million different species of animals alone. That is an incredible number to even think about.
But here's the kicker. That's just what we've found so far. It's just a fraction of the total picture. We know there's so much more life out there, hidden in the deep oceans, in dense rainforests, maybe even in your own backyard. The current scientific best guess is that there are probably over 7 million animal species on Earth in total. Let that sink in. That means for every one species we know about, there could be 4 or 5 more out there that we have yet to discover. It's a powerful reminder of how much we still have to learn about our own planet.
Now, the science that tries to make sense of all this mind-boggling complexity is ecology. It's not just about making a list of species. It's about understanding the relationships, how all the living things, the biotic parts, interact with each other, and how they interact with their physical surroundings, like water and sunlight, the abiotic or non-living parts. And understanding that web of interactions has never been more urgent, because right now, our planet is in a precarious balance. All this biodiversity provides services we absolutely cannot live without: clean air, fresh water, pollinating our crops. But the current estimates are shocking. We could lose up to half of all species in the next 50 years. This is a crisis that threatens to unravel the very ecosystems that sustain us, and it could fundamentally reset the course of life on Earth.
Which brings us to this final critical thought. The story of biology, of life, has been unfolding for an almost unimaginable amount of time. And now, for the first time in history, a single species, that's us, has the power to consciously shape its future. The next chapter isn't written yet. The real question is, what role are we going to choose to play in it?